One of the world's most iconic buildings, the Notre Dame Cathedral in France, was on fire. Today, firefighters have been moving through the wreckage and looking at how, amazingly, some parts of the building have survived. It's one of the oldest cathedrals in the world. Construction started in the year 1163. It took over 150 years to construct. Our correspondent Ira Spitzer is in Paris for you tonight. Ira, good evening to you. Firstly, what survived from the flames? How much of Notre Dame has actually survived this blaze?
Well, it's been an absolutely dramatic 24 hours here in Paris. Of course, last night around the world, we saw those shocking images of this iconic Notre Dame Cathedral up in flames. And at that point, it did not seem possible that the building could survive that fire. However, after some of the dust has settled today, the fire was extinguished at about 10 a.m. local time this morning. We did learn that the main structure of the cathedral is essentially intact, as well as those two bell towers, which are well known if you imagine what the cathedral looks like. So much of Notre Dame remains intact, but the spire, as well as about 2/3 of the roof, were destroyed. So investigators, for the first time earlier today, really had the chance to go inside to assess the damage. And as you mentioned there earlier, it really, in many ways, was better than people had feared, but certainly a massive reconstruction project awaits here to try and rebuild this symbol of French life and one of the most important tourist attractions, not just in France, but really around the world.
It's an absolutely huge blaze. Do we know what caused the fire? What started this?
Well, investigators haven't revealed exactly what they think caused the blaze, saying that they have over 50 people now looking into this. As far as some speculation, the likeliest theory so far seems to be that it could have been caused by the ongoing renovations that were happening in Notre Dame, perhaps by a worker who'd left a tool or caused some sort of spark with a tool that could have then turned into this large-scale fire. We do know that the French authorities, France's Interior Ministry, was at the site earlier today, and he said that there was no reason to suspect that this was arson of any kind. So the authorities do believe that this blaze was accidental, but what we don't know exactly right now is what could have caused that.
There's been a huge reaction in France. What have people on the streets of Paris been saying about the fire and about the cathedral?
Well, the Notre Dame Cathedral is certainly something that I think Parisians, as well as the many, many people who visit Paris every year, just sort of take for granted. It's something that you can see is visible from many parts of the city. It certainly is an impressive edifice, a very large building, a very historic building. So the image of Notre Dame engulfed in those flames that went around the world in real time as that was happening did appear to have a real profound effect on people in the streets here. Some of the people I talked to earlier in the day talking about this tremendous sense of loss and just seeing the disturbing images and what that did to their psyche. So it certainly is something that really cuts right to the heart of French life, also cuts to the heart of Paris in particular. And not only is this an historic building, but it's also an important building in the Christian faith. So this is, of course, the week leading up to Easter. So there had been masses planned, of course, on Easter Sunday at Notre Dame. That will, of course, not proceed as planned. So a lot to think about here, but certainly Parisians really trying to take all this in. But I should say that there certainly is also quite a feeling of hope when we learned that the damage did not appear to be as extensive as was initially feared. So many of the people I talked to were somewhat optimistic that Notre Dame would rise again, that they would be able to rebuild this historic building. But for now, certainly a shocking scene right in the heart of Paris.
Ira Spitzer, our correspondent in Paris tonight. Thank you very much indeed.